We think of money as the institution, the dollar bills, the credit cards. But I started to see money as this energy. And it actually is an energy of appreciation. And how that energy moves and is expressed is really fundamental to growing your money.
This is the Angel Next Door podcast, where we will talk about all things angel investing, what it is, who does it, how do we find them, what does it mean to invest in an early stage company. If you have ever wondered how you can affect the change you want to see in the world, then tune in to learn more. Money. We all have a unique and different relationship to money, and over the next few months, I'm going to be talking more about our money mindset. The number one reason why startups fail is because they run out of money. And I believe a big reason we don't see more investment into entrepreneurial companies is because of the mindset around money, as well as the mindset around the word investing. In this episode, I'm talking to Julie Foucht, a renowned coach dedicated to elevating female entrepreneurship and empowering women to take control of their financial destinies. Julie shares her personal journey from financial struggle to self-sufficiency and dives into the unconventional money practices that transformed her life. Through intriguing anecdotes and actionable advice, Julie reveals how women can shift their mindset, embrace their unique gifts, and build thriving businesses. Tune in to discover how aligning your energy of appreciation can not only boost your bank account, but can also create a ripple effect for good in the world. Enjoy the show.
Julie, welcome to the Angel Next Door podcast.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited to get to talk to you.
Yes, I know. I'm interested to hear all about the coaching work that you do. We have a lot of things in common as far as how we're both trying to elevate female entrepreneurship and help get more women into the game of investing. So why don't you start off? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I was raised in a family of 5 kids. There's 3 girls and 2 boys. And my dad, when we were all grown up, said, maybe I made a mistake. I raised my boys to get along in the world, and I raised my girls to be taken care of. And so I was raised with that idea that I couldn't. And it led me to a 20-year abusive marriage. And when I left that marriage, completely broke, I left him with everything and walked out. And I had to learn that I actually had the capacity to, first of all, take care of myself, make my own money, make enough of it to survive, and then figure out how to make enough money to actually thrive. And it's really funny. I'll tell you a little story. Just before Christmas, my freezer on my refrigerator stopped working. And I have a freezer in the garage, so I went, I'll deal with this after Christmas, right? And this week, the guy came out and he said, the condenser's gone and it's going to be a couple $1,000s to replace it. I went, no way. And I went and bought a new refrigerator. And I thought, this is the difference between where I was 20, 30 years ago when I started studying money and I couldn't buy a new pair of tennis shoes because I didn't have $20 to buy a pair of tennis shoes, to where I can go and say, okay, this is the refrigerator I want. When can you deliver it? And that's just a refrigerator in the big scale is a small thing, but it just felt like a big growth thing for me to be able to say, I can take care of my needs, whatever they are at this point, and not have to pull on a credit card or my savings or get anything out of my retirement accounts. Just, of course, money's here. No big deal. It's not going to affect the month at all that I did that.
So how did you build up to that?
I started by reading a little book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Waddell. It was written in the 1920s. There are some really bizarre things he says in there because it's written in the language of the 1920s. But it got me thinking about how money actually works. And we think of money as the institution, the dollar bills, the credit cards. But I started to see money as this energy. And it actually is an energy of appreciation. And how that energy moves and is expressed is really fundamental to growing your money. And then I read a lot of books and I studied with a lot of teachers. And as I put in place my own business, I put some money practices, some basic money practices in place. And then I started talking to money itself. So when I journal, I will journal a conversation with money. And I will tell you, I've learned a lot from my conversations with money. And I've learned things that nobody's ever said to me about how money works, how this energy works, how this pot of energy on the planet is meant to run, how we're misusing it, and the ways that when I align myself, and I know this sounds a little woo woo, but it really is about how do I align myself for the highest and best good of not only myself and my family, but everybody whose lives I touch. And when I'm aligned there, then I align with this energy of appreciation that wants to be used to do good in the world. Like I believe money really wants to be used for good. Now, it will go places that is not being used for good because we're not aligning ourselves with what is the best. We're not aligning ourselves with what will serve us and the planet well. And there's no judgment in that. We're human beings and we're not taught to do that. So even when I go to the grocery store and the cost of eggs is outrageous right now. And what I want to do is when I buy those eggs, I want to open my heart and I want to have gratitude for the farmers that farm them and for this. We shop at a little local grocery store. So I want to be grateful to the owners of the little grocery store and I want to be grateful for the guys who stocked the eggs. And when I manage to put that love into it, it shifts how the money that I'm sending out touches the next person. They may not know that I put love into sending them money, but somehow they're going to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, what we do is we put anxiety into money. Oh, shoot, I have to buy a new refrigerator. And then there's that anxiety goes into the money. And the next person, the person taking our order or the person fulfilling our order, gets a little shot of anxiety that's not even theirs. So that's just like the first practice that I started to put into place. And as I started to teach it and listened, not only did my clients start to make more money, but I started to make more. And now I just go, okay, money, this is my goal for the month. And then I go take the actions that I was going to take anyway with that appreciation for that money being there already.
Interesting. So how does it work then with building businesses and like how it then gets into the rest of the world?
Oh, that's such a big question. I think the first thing, when you start a business, there is a lot of anxiety around it, right? You haven't proven yourself. You haven't proven anything. You haven't done anything yet. You're at the beginning. To recognize that you are an expert in something and to build on that expertise. You and I were talking ahead of time, and women often think, oh, I can't make money in my gifts because that's given from the universe or God given gifts. But actually, to look at those gifts and know that you are an expert in that and that you actually came here to share that. And that will help build your confidence. And then the second thing, when you start building your business, I'm a big believer in mentors.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Every time I've hired a mentor, my income and my business have grown. So I'm a big believer in that. Get a mentor, get a coach, get a sister mind group of like-minded women who are where you want to be. It doesn't do you a lot of good to be in a mastermind of people who are lagging behind you. Unless you're running it, they're getting you money for it. Second is to begin to clear and notice those beliefs that pop up, right? Society, our families, even if you believe in past lives. There are all these beliefs that get handed down. You and I were talking before about the thing I call the witch wound, which I think all women carry in our DNA, which said if you are powerful, you are strong, if you are out there doing your magic, man, you're going to get noticed. And when you're noticed, you're going to get killed. Because that's what happened. And in England during the witch trial, many of the women who were killed, they were landowners. They were wealthy widows. And I don't know, when and they were killed with no heirs, then I guess that land had to go to the men in the community, right? They were killed for being outspoken. So we carry that. So we need to clear that. And you need to notice the societal rule. You need to notice the family rules that are holding you back. In my family, there was a rule that we don't outshine my brother, the golden child. My mother calls him the golden child when she talks about him to us. And she thinks it's really funny, but he is her golden child. And so I had to recognize and I had to shift the belief that you don't outshine the golden child. And I had to shift it to we can all shine.
Right.
My making more money does not diminish his life. So I had to change my beliefs around that. We have to look at that and change our beliefs. And there are society rules for women. Still today, it wasn't until the mid 1970s where women in the US were allowed to open a bank account or a credit card
Yep.
without their husband or father's permission.
Yep.
And despite all the advances we've made, we still carry that.
Mm-hmm.
Women still make less than men. Now we're catching up and they figure we go at the same rate we've been going. Sometime in the next 200 years, women's salaries will catch up to men. 200 years. And we
Right.
carry that in our DNAs. And so we have to pull out those beliefs that say you are not worth more, that say you can't sell your gifts, that say you are bad at money. Women are discouraged. Girls are discouraged from doing math. Girls are bad at math. Send them over to the drama department. Oh, and by the way, in the drama department, you're never going to make any money. These are things that are taught to us from the time we are little. We have to find those beliefs, and then we have to begin the work of shifting them so that we can open our channels to receive more.
And how do we start to shift them?
So I think the first thing is to notice them.
Yeah.
Then a lot of people think, I'll just believe something different, right? I'm bad at money. Girls are bad at money. So I'll just believe that I'm good at money. But our unconscious brain doesn't work that way. So we might begin to shift that by saying, I'm bad at money, but I'm good at finding advisors to help me with my money. Or I am making friends with money now. And maybe I'm not going to do it all the way, but maybe I'm just going to look at my checkbook and balance my checkbook once a month. So I am learning about money. So instead of I am bad at money, the belief becomes I am learning about money. And then it can become, wow, I really love money. I think that was my first one. I really love money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when I say that, people still give me a funny look? But what shifts inside you when you begin to think it's okay to love money?
Right.
I love money. I love what money can do for my life. I love what money can do for other people's life. I love what you're doing with money in supporting other women.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching my pot of money grow so that my future self is taken care of. And we begin to fall in love with money. And that begins to shift this belief. It's road behind my old house once. There was a landslide that took the road out. They decided not to fix that road. And it took about 3 years before you could barely find the road because everything grew up around it, and you see little pieces of concrete. We'd walk down there all the time. And that's how it is. You start focusing on this new thing that I love money, and the old one becomes overgrown and it disappears after a while.
Let me just ask then, you were talking about how we change this mindset by thinking of new things, new beliefs. And I think that's really interesting because we do need to change our belief with money. And just what you said is, I like money. I had a guest on a couple episodes ago, Dawn LaFrida, and she was in the documentary Show Her the Money, where I'm an associate producer. And she says in the film, "I like money." And it's just a kind of a passing comment that she makes in the film. And she said that over and over again, after people see the film, they talk to her about that and they say, "I felt was really liberating to hear you say that on on a movie screen, that you actually said, 'I like money,' and that you're a woman." Usually you hear men say that, you don't hear women say that.
Yeah, because we are taught that the love of money is the root of all evil. The patriarchy teaches us that as women, we are the root of all evil, right? So we've already got these two things going for us, telling us we're evil, money's evil. Man, we don't want to be evil.
Right.
So we get into this conflict of, I'm going to be as good as I can be, which means I'm only going to make enough money to just survive. We've got to throw those out the window. And part of that is, how are we going to relate to this energy that we call money?
Mm.
How are we going to do good with the money that flows through our hands? I love the title of your book. So how are we going to do good while doing well? How are we going to allow what flows through us to make a positive difference in the world? I believe what we're creating is going to be more positive for more people.
So, what are some of the things that you coach women on so that they do think about how to grow their business better? In a lot of cases, we talk to female entrepreneurs, and angel investors really want to invest in scalable companies that are going to grow, that they can be sold to a bigger company, or they can go do a private or a public offering. We're trying to invest in those entrepreneurs that have big visionary, thinking. So how do we coach more women to have that mindset, and so that they're on the same level playing field?
So we look at our business in three lanes. So the first lane is, where am I at today? What is my impact and influence in the world today? What is my income today? How many people do I serve? Then what is my next lane? So what is my next growth lane? What does that look like income wise? What does that look like expense? What does that look like in the number of people? What are the systems that are going to have to change to make this happen? What are the new team members? All of that. And then we want to go to that wildly outrageous goal. If I could have everything I wanted, a lot of times women hold themselves back because they never allowed themselves to dream into the wildly outrageous.
Mm.
And so I say, let the editor in your head go and dream as wildly outrageous as you can, because you can always pull it back,
Right.
right? You can always, when you hit 100K, then you can decide, oh, is seven figures really what I want? But unless you've dreamt seven figures, you can't make that decision. So what does it look like? What would it look like if my business got so big I became an angel investor? How would that feel? Or it got so big that I could retire and sell it for $5 million. What would that feel like? And get the emotion of it, even if you don't know the details. Know the emotion and dream into that. And then when you're making plans, you don't make plans based on the business you have today. You make plans as if you had $1 million business or a $5 million business. So if you've got a team member who really sucks, if you were the owner of a $5 million business, would you accept that? If you were spending all your time doing something outside your area of genius, Would you be doing that as a $5 million business owner? And if the answer is no, then you begin to work towards resolving that. So you're always building the $5 million business, not the business you have today, even as you're working in the business you have today. And to do that, you've got to be free to dream.
Yeah. And how do we get more women, especially, to think like that?
That's a really good question. I think it's doing podcasts and writing books and getting out
Talking
there
about
and
it,
doing
yeah.
Facebook Lives and just being. The other day, I was doing a meditation, and this whole witch thing, it's part of my brand, the Witchpreneur. So the witch thing was coming up. And last time when we had the witch trials, women turned against women, went into hiding, women were killed. And what I heard was, this time there are more of us and we are here to support each other. And so I think the reality is that we reach out and that we share our message without fear, because that old fear of being burned at the stake will pop up. But know there are women that have your back, and so you can speak your message into the world. And yes, there are going to be trolls. And yes, they are often very funny in their complaint, because they are still clinging to this idea that women with a voice are dangerous. But we've got to step beyond that, and we've got to keep sharing our message, and we've got to be loud and present and visible in every way we can. And we've got to plant these seeds, just like this one short little podcast, or somebody we planted a seed.
Mhm.
And so the work you're doing is so valuable. The work I'm doing is so valuable because we just keep planting the seeds. And as Malcolm Gladwell says, somewhere there's a tipping point.
That's true. Yeah. This mindset of money and how we use it, what we're entitled to, what we shouldn't think about, with the taboos around it. There's so many things. And I think if we just keep talking about it, we keep putting it out there, we make it less uncomfortable for people to share how they feel about money, what they want with money, and for women to actually feel okay saying, I like money. I want to make money.
I love money.
Yeah.
Money is so fun. Do you know the fun things I get to do because of money? I'm so grateful to money.
That's great. And so how can people get in hold of you? What is the best way?
That's really great. We have a Facebook group called the Feminine Business Magic, and that's a free to join group. We do a lot of money making, dance and meditations and new moon and all that kind of stuff. They can also take the Witchpreneur quiz, and the Witchpreneur quiz is very woo-woo. So be prepared for that if you take the quiz, but it talks about your unique magic in the world and how best to use that to make money, because different types of people have different ways that are good for them to make money. We'll give you the link to the Witchpreneur quiz, or you can go to my website and find it at juliefoucht.com.
Great. This has been interesting, Julie. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and talking about this. We need to keep these conversations flowing and keep people thinking about how they can expand their mindset to get more money to come into their life, right?
100%. More money in the hands of more women is what's going to change the world. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening. To connect with me, visit my website at marciadawood.com. And if you're looking to learn more about investing in the changes that you want to see in the world, sign up for Ann and Bill Payne's ACA Angel University classes. You go to angelcapitalassociation.org, all one word, to find out the schedule. Many classes are offered, everything from the angel investing basics, fundamentals, risks, due diligence, term sheets, valuations, returns and portfolio strategy. And for a deeper dive, there are advanced classes which include capitalization tables, startup boards, and exit strategies. If you're not already a member of the Angel Capital Association, you can become one for the low price of $295 for the year, and that will give you unparalleled access to discounts, free webinars with a huge archive of content, networking opportunities, and much more. We'd love to have you join us. All content for this website is informational and not intended to serve as legal, tax, accounting, or investing advice. While Marcia, that's me, does serve on the SEC Small Business Capital Formation Advisory Committee, my views are my own and not the views of the SEC or my fellow colleagues on the committee. Our speakers and hosts are thoughtfully selected for their educational value, but their opinions are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the host, me, or the Angel Capital Association, and neither specifically endorse the use of presenters' products or services. Listeners of the podcast should consult their own tax, investing, legal, or accounting advisors before making important financial decisions. All warranties, including accuracy, completeness, and suitability for specific purpose, are disclaimed.